Hey, you got a
Hey,
different camera setup this time.
yeah, I'm back at my regular work computer
Uh,
tonight.
Okay, it looks good,
Um,
man. I like the
yeah,
shelf. I like
good picture.
good pitch it. I like the shelf in the background. I like seeing the figures.
Yeah, I got it's my Avengers shelf right here, and then down here I got my Matrix shelf of Matrix figures and a diorama that I made of the
Nice.
lobby scene.
Hmm.
Once we get this set up to where we can like share photos or something, I'll have to do a little, or maybe I'll log in on my phone and do a little studio tour one of these days.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Right.
Or I mean, once you get a webcam, it has like a 5 foot thing, so you could maybe get like a
Well,
stand and then move it around
yeah.
that way. That's pretty far. It's a big room.
Um, Yeah, I'm probably 20 feet from the other wall, so get a little something going.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll
Um,
figure it out.
yeah.
I
How
need to.
you doing?
I'm doing okay. I had to do some meditation before this. I'm kind of I don't know, man. My brain is like, I'm still just dealing with the grieving and stuff, so
Yeah.
my brain's kind of mush. So, I got to like put effort into actually being present with things.
Yeah, man. I imagine that, with everything going on, I mean, I feel as though my brain is already mush.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time like finding words,
Uh-huh.
Uh I'll know a word. It's a word I've used. It's the apt word for this scenario, and I can't find it in my brain.
Sure. Sure.
So I've had a lot of that going on. I've a lot more typos lately.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yep.
everything I type is just wrong, and so yeah. I mean, I think we're all just in a general mush state, and
Y-
then on top of that, dealing with what
Yeah,
you're going
man.
through. I can't imagine is easy. So I hope you're being kind to yourself, as they say.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, so one result that happened was I decided to cut my own hair and I fucked it up really
Mm-hmm.
bad. And then so my wife had to shave all my hair and then she wanted to braid it. And I thought, like, oh, that looks kind of cool, actually. I've been doing like a lot of research on my Native American heritage. So I feel like braiding my hair is in Native
Yeah,
American heritage, they basically, when the Europeans and stuff came, they cut all their hair off, so they weren't able to grow their hair long and braid it, and it was a spiritual thing for them. So current people that are Native American currently braid their hair out of respect for their ancestors. So I think it's kind of a cool sentiment.
yeah, I thought maybe that was because I saw it obviously when we logged on, and I was like wondered if that was.
Yeah. Well, plus my
Uh,
hair is just super long, and it's the worst haircut ever. So
I mean, it's just shaved
it's
around
shaved all
here
the way
now?
around, but it's like it looks good on camera, but in real life it looks like shit. It really
Yeah, I
does.
mean, well, you know me, dude. I've been cutting hair for 20 years. Like
Yeah.
it looks good from here at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just
Was
gonna
that fun? Was that fun for Amy to braid your hair?
well, the thing is my hair was long previously, I tried growing it out and she really wanted to braid it and mess with it cuz she had sisters and stuff and it was like fun. So uh, yeah, she I think she enjoys it, but she's pretty rough. She's pretty rough with it, man. She's like,
Just tugging on your shit.
yeah, like jerking my head. I'm like, fuck. I'm not a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah. Are you
Uh,
singing R. Kelly to her? Come on and braid my hair. Remember that shit?
yeah.
Uh,
Let me think here. I just said, damn it. I'm trying not to say,
I know. I've been trying not to say like.
oh,
It
interesting.
is it is so indicative of our generation, and it sounds so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're in a time where we're seeing a lot more streamed or video content, YouTube, etc. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just watching something before we logged in, and it was an action figure reviewer who has guests on his stream, and he had a guy who was pretty young. He's 25. Seemed like a great dude, but he kept saying like, and
It's like
I
makes it
feel,
impossible to listen to almost when somebody does stuff like that.
especially if you're trying not to say it as I am, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's like you said, you want to try to not fill that space with something else. And I have a couple of
Sure.
things that I do, and I'm trying not to do those now.
Yeah.
Uh, it's
Well,
hard.
I can. I the thing is, if, like in certain situations, I can speak very well, and like when I'm improvising music, I can like improvise, talk, rapping stuff, and I don't
Mhm.
say. But just in situations where I've got a lot, like this has a lot going on. I got to think about all the different levels, the camera, the light,
Right.
all the different shit, and so. Yeah, I think in situations like that, I'll fill the space with an rather than a pause. But I'm pretty used to like just doing a pause and then continuing on with my thoughts in
Yeah.
general. I don't know. It's a weird thing. It all has to do with just being present with, for me anyway.
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Oh,
So
excuse me.
so I've got a surprise for you. But so
Oh yeah.
we should go over like what you got going on, and then we'll go over my stuff. How about that?
Yeah, I finished the script for my next graphic novel. So I'm currently in the layouts stage, which is essentially doing a rough draft of the comic book pages
Oh,
before, and then what I'll show you here. I can turn my monitor and move this a little bit. Um,
we
so
should figure out how to do a screen share. Honestly, that's like the next thing we need to do. I think.
yeah. Oh, you know what? Well, yeah. We could. Now is probably not the time to do it, but
Yeah.
I'll just get this. Oh, that's probably going to be blown out. Anyway, I'm using Photoshop to. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to
Here,
see
let
that.
me wait. Let me
Um,
do this here.
oh, here at this angle, you can kind of see it. Let me.
We just got to figure out the screen share. I know I can do
Yeah.
it. I just don't know how.
I think the backlight from the screen is kind of blowing it out. At
Yeah.
this angle, you can kind of see it. Basically, I go in with the colors cyan and magenta, which are kind of a reddish pink and a blue color,
Uh huh.
and I will draw the page in a loose kind of rough draft style on these templates that I've made, and then what I'll do is I'll take that image and put it on a separate document and print it out at the actual size that I'm going to draw the page on.
Mm.
And then what that does, I'll print that out in those blue and magenta colors. Um, and those colors don't reproduce when you like scan or photocopy them on certain settings.
Mm-hmm.
So once I draw over it with the black and white, ink, the only thing that you'll see when I scan it is that essentially.
Oh, that's dope.
Um, yeah, that's kind of an older way of doing it. It does. I mean, now with scanners being as high fidelity as they are, it does show up, and I just have to use some Photoshop settings to drop the color out.
I
But it's
see.
only a couple clicks, and then it's pretty much done. So
Yeah.
that allows me to plan out the page before drawing it, in permanent ink.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'll do every page like this before I actually commit it to the finalized ink stage. So
Huh.
um, I'm a little rusty because I haven't done this in like 3 months now. I mean, I was doing it for 7 months straight,
Uh huh.
and then even before that with other jobs and stuff. But on my last book, it took me 7 months to do. And then I took a significant break to work on the script for the next one and just take a little time off because I had been working like crazy. And
Yeah.
now it's kind of like getting back in the gym after taking some time off. Just got to get those muscles working again.
Yeah. It's interesting.
But yeah,
So
I mean, with my brain being mush, it's coming back to me a little more slowly than I would like. I feel like.
sure. I mean, I think everybody's, with all the stuff going on, everybody's distracted in some form or another.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I do
And
honest.
you add to that the fact that we're not really going anywhere, and it's just
Yeah.
kind of it's
Yeah.
very discombobulating.
For sure. Well, I was taking in a ton of stuff. I was reading the news
Yeah.
at set times during the day, and I was protesting. I was doing all these things, and I didn't really. I felt like I was managing it well, but then once my dad passed away, I stopped taking any of that in, and I can't even
Mhm.
like the impact that it has when I even watch a video or read anything now. I can feel it, and it's like I can't even look at that. I can't even see what's So
Yeah.
now I can really see the impact that that stuff was having on me before, and didn't even recognize it. So I know for sure this it's I mean it's heavy emotional stress on people. At least
Yeah, and it's designed to be that way, right?
sure,
The stuff with like the federal officers and the every good thing that's overturned or vetoed or whatever, every environmental regulation that's taken away, every all this stuff is designed to just beat us into submission,
sure.
and that makes it difficult as well, like having that awareness and trying not to succumb to it,
Mhm.
so yeah, it's a wild time.
Yeah, well that's cool. Well, it's interesting. So, I'm curious like what stage, I don't know if I already asked you this, but what stages of like working on a project is are your favorite stages?
you know I feel very fortunate that I generally enjoy all of it. Like whichever I'm working on is kind of my favorite part when I'm in it.
Yeah.
But I think inking is my favorite because once once I print this out into, I print out these colors. I don't I essentially do a transparent version of it. So I'll print them like very lightly on the page, right?
Uh-huh.
So I can see it, but it's not super prominent on the paper.
Yeah.
And then from there, I go in with a pencil and I actually draw on top of those construction lines,
Yeah.
so it ends up being sort of the finished pencils, right? And then from there, I'll go in with the brush and pens and ink it. And then once it's inked, I erase the pencil away. So all that's left is the ink, and then a little bit you can still kind of make out the faint, like kind of it ends up being kind of pink and blue by the end of it.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the inking part is my favorite because that's where I'm getting to do the fun texture building, and there's an art to it with the way you draw the lines and how much pressure you put on the pen or the brush as you're doing it to make a thicker or thinner line, and there's
Mm.
a whole technique to all that stuff that I really enjoy.
Mhm. Hmm. That's interesting. So,
Writing has been a harder part for me lately, and I think part of it is due to all the stuff we're talking about.
oh, sure. Oh, that's funny. That reminds me. I was watching. My wife was watching this show. I don't remember what the name of it is. It's on Amazon, and it's made by the same guy that worked on The Office and Parks and Rec. I think his name's Greg Daniels. Oh, this is so. I got one thing here. Hey Google, what's Greg Daniels' show on Amazon?
He did it.
Oh, that's garbage. Can you hear it? Or is it quiet?
It was quiet. I could hear.
Google volume up. Hey Google volume up. Hey Google, who's Greg Daniels? Hey Google, what TV shows has Greg Daniels made? Okay, but what's his show? Hey Google, what's Greg Daniels' show on Amazon? Fuck. See, well, all this man,
She
she
it,
sucks.
it's
Anyway,
it's it's Amazon, right? It's because you said Amazon that it's like,
oh,
sorry,
probably,
that is the direct competitor.
yeah, because
I'll
Amazon.
just Google it real quick.
Uh, could you hear it though? Could you hear the?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, Upload. You guys watched Upload?
So she's watching Upload, and I didn't know. I was like, what the hell is this? And when she first started watching it, I didn't realize it was a comedy. I thought it was a serious show. And like, this is
Yeah.
really corny. Like, this is like, it's almost good because it's super corny. And then later on, she was like, oh no, this is made by this guy, and it's a comedy. I was like, oh, I couldn't even really tell. It just seemed like a really badly made sci-fi movie. Um, Anyhow, in the thing, their phone is exactly what I was saying with the mic with the hologram coming out of their hand.
No, I was I was telling you that I watched Upload and
Oh,
that
is that what it
on
was?
that show they talk on their phone like this. But
Okay.
I think you had said it would be a chip at some
A
point
microchip.
inside your
Yeah,
body.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
funny.
and then I said, "Oh, it's like this show Upload." Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that
It's a great show, man. I think you'd like it. It's really good.
it looks cool. Yeah, I mean,
Super
from what I
funny.
saw, it was funny. But that was funny with
Yeah.
the phone thing. That's funny that that's what that was. I didn't recognize, but I was like, oh, that's the thing. That's the thing Ibrahim and I were talking about.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, man. So let's see here. What else? What else you got
You
going on?
said
Anything else?
um not really, man. I mean, well, I guess kind of. It would be San Diego Comic Con this weekend,
Oh,
if it were happening, but it's not for the first time in like 35 years or something.
I'm I'm a,
Um,
I'm. So they're not doing like a Zoom digital one that people can watch.
well, sort of, yeah. There's like panel programming, and so I did one of those that actually goes live tomorrow at some point. I'm not sure when,
Oh,
but
nice.
I think if you go to like san diego comic-con.com, it's all up there. Um, so yeah, we did one with my publisher on sort of the future of the label humanoids, and I got to talk about my book, and there's some other books talked about. One that's called MPLS Sound, that's about like uh, the DJ who was a woman who DJ'd with Prince or something.
Hmm.
I'm not, I'm a little foggy on the details, and some other cool stuff. But yeah, as we've discussed on here, and I've shown, I'm a big action figure junkie, and
Yeah.
this is when all the big reveals and announcements and exclusives come out and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so I've been kind of, it's hard to get work done when you're sort of glued to the internet to see what the next announcement is and
Yeah.
what's the next thing that's coming out.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. I always enjoy that, even though it's kind of a hassle to divide your attention with. But yeah, and I did an interview uh, that I think is supposed to go on CNN.com at some point, along with a bunch of other like news outlets. That is part of the ongoing uh, Comic Con coverage that someone is doing. I don't know. I think it's kind of
Hmm.
those things like stock footage where somebody does a bunch of interviews, and then
Yeah.
they get sort of broadcasted to a bunch of different places or whatever. But
Nice.
so yeah, and I'm looking
So
forward to taking the weekend off. We're
yeah.
working on some action figures and kicking it with my wife and the dogs, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, cool, man. That's exciting. I'll be. You'll have to find out like the actual links for
yeah.
those interviews and stuff, and we can put them in the stream chat,
Oh, cool. Yeah,
and then promote
definitely.
them that way. Because when people view the video, they can see the stream chat on Twitch.
I just did a podcast called Marvel by Month, which
Yeah.
is, it's a really cool thing actually. These guys um, they started at the very first Marvel comics and are going month by month based on what Marvel put out each
Yeah.
subsequent month. So
Yeah.
they read them and talk about them, and they have guests on, and they had me on, and I had never read some of the old stuff, like Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, Spider Man,
Oh yeah,
which like the
yeah.
original,
You were telling me about that. Yeah.
and yeah, and so I went on, and I had never read Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Fantastic Four. And Jack Kirby, for those who don't know, he's more responsible for the Marvel universe that we know and love than Stan Lee is,
Uh.
because he designed all the characters. He all this stuff that we watch in these movies that we love. Most of it came out of Jack Kirby's head.
I see.
So Stan would say like,
So
"What about a guy named Spider-Man?" And then like Steve Ditko drew Spider-Man.
so Stan Lee
What
was
about the Fantastic Four?
so he was like the kind of the face of the thing, but then there was actually people doing the work, just
Yes,
like everything in life.
yeah. And
Okay.
actually, they would do what they called Marvel style, which so the way comics work is you write a script and it'll say, page one, panel one. Like every square on the comics page is a panel,
Yeah.
right? So it'll be panel 1 through 5 or whatever, and it'll tell you what happens in each panel. Some writers are very specific because artists like that. They want to know exactly what they should be drawing. Personally, I don't want that. Tell me what's happening in it, and I'll decide what it looks like, where the camera is, etc.
Yeah.
Right? But what they used to do in the old days is basically Stan Lee would give Jack Kirby, for example, a plot. He would say, "In this issue, the Fantastic Four go to the moon," right? So and then they fight a moon rock guy, and
Your
then they go back to
your
Earth.
Stanley impression sounds a little bit like Bernie Sanders and Stanley mixed.
But Spider-Man would fight the top 1% of the villains at the bottom 10% of the. We need to talk about major supervillain reform in this country.
That's a good impression, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Stan Lee
Yeah.
would, yeah, thank you. So Stan Lee would give him a plot, and then Jack Kirby would break it down and draw these individual things, and really like tell the story visually. And then Stan Lee would go back in and he would write all this dialogue over it and cover up all this gorgeous art with all his word balloons.
I see.
And it ended up being like so overwritten. That's why comics took so long to gain traction as to be considered an art form, because
Yeah.
it was trash. The writing was like, and on the other side of the wall, and
Yeah.
it would just be like, yeah, no, we know, we're looking at the other side of
So
the
what
wall now.
so what happened with the interview then, or with the
Uh, it was great. I mean, I had a lot of fun. This great show, and like it was just it was funny to go on this podcast that's all about these old comics and be like, I've never read these, right? So it aired this week, and I've been posting about it on social media and stuff. And my
Yeah.
friend just texted me and said, "You've never read Jack Kirby Fantastic Four?" Like it wasn't even a question; it was just a statement.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't believe, because that's one of those
That's
it's like
like a
saying I've never seen Star Wars,
yeah.
which I haven't. I've seen some of it, but no.
That's like my wife hasn't seen anything. Like anything. Like I learned yesterday that she never seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's like that is a classic. What? Are you kidding
I've never
me?
seen.
Oh,
So here's what I've never seen. I've never
classic.
seen Empire Strikes Back all the way through. I think I've seen like the first 10, 15 minutes.
Sure.
I've only seen the first 10, 15 minutes and a few clips from Return of the Jedi. I've only seen the first Indiana Jones movie, and that was within the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I've never seen Jaws. I've never seen any of the Aliens movies.
All those I've seen all those, but it's all been when I was a really little kid, so I don't really remember.
Yeah.
I was never into I can remember watching the original Star Wars films and being really intrigued as a really little kid. But then,
See, I think that was part for me because I never saw him as a kid. I didn't see Star Wars. I didn't see A New Hope until I was in like 7th grade, because the prequels were about to start coming out, and so
yeah,
the theaters were rerunning the old ones. And I remember just being like, "Damn, is this what everybody's super into? Like, this isn't even that tight."
yeah.
Like,
It's only
I thought there was
cool.
lightsaber fights.
It's only cool if you're like a really little kid, or if you were maybe a young teenager when when those movies very first came out, and it was like groundbreaking.
Right. Or if your parents like raised you on them,
Sure.
like because they loved them when they were kids, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
They were just, I was shown Superman movies, and I'm, into Superman now. Obviously, like I work in comic books and stuff.
I mean, Christopher Reeve's Superman movies were like life changing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Life changing.
Man.
It's like
absolutely. Yeah.
So. Yeah, so check it out. So I got this. Well, one thing I want to show you is this. So I want to tell you actually, I've been putting a lot of work into promoting the stream on different platforms, like on TikTok and Facebook and stuff. And I've been getting some traction. And I didn't really think about like engaging in the Twitch community at all. So last night I went on the music performance community and ran across a number of people that do improvised music. It's like a community on here, and there's people that watch specifically for that. There's this guy, his name is Aaron Goldberg, I think, or Goldman, and
Mm.
he does improvised music, but he uses a bunch of different instruments. And he was super nice, man. I talked to him during his stream, and he started following me, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I was just chatting back and forth, like this is crazy. This is
Is that through like through a tag? Like, how do you find other people who
so you
like in
can
the community?
so basically you click on there's different what are they called they're like basically
Like channels or something? Or?
labels for what your videos would be under. I can't think of the
Okay,
actual term.
like keyword search.
Yeah, so the main one would be music and performance is what like
Okay,
this would be under. And there's like podcast. There's technically this would kind of be under a podcast, but we're kind of mixed because it's kind of like an AMA type thing because I'm the person that does music on this channel and you're in our,
right.
so it's kind of I have it labeled under AMA, but it yeah, so you can click on that and go through and see kind of who's streaming live at the time. And then I learned what a raid was. A raid is basically so when he was getting offline, he raided this other gal's channel, and it sent all of the viewers over to her stream. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, so she's improvising music, and all of a sudden we all pop in, and it's like, oh, who's this? And then they recommend another person. So I already got like 2 followers just from engaging with him and letting him know I do improvised music. So it's like, man, I need to start watching these people and seeing how they do it. So one thing that I wanted to show you too, is if you look at the stream, I realized. So I made this here so people kind of know what's going on. You see?
It takes a sec because
Oh,
there's like a 3 to 5 second delay. I think.
oh, I see. So yeah, so I made this little tag that says this is all improvised for the screen, just so when people see it, they kind of see what's
Oh,
going
that's
on.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I noticed someone else had that, I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Because people might come on here, they're like, what the hell is this person doing?
You know what? I'm gonna real quick. I should post about this on
Whoops, that's not what
Instagram
I'm.
too. I'll put the link.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too is there's one thing about from what I read, it's kind of hard to get people to sort of migrate over to. It's hard to get people to migrate over to Twitch from other
Yeah.
places, but to actual get the community of people that watch Twitch streams, that's kind of how you get more viewers. But so this is that picture I was telling you about.
Oh, but the you said your grandma made that?
Yeah, my grandma made that I had a Batman shirt on, but then the cape and the cowl was she
Can
made
you
that.
tilt it back a little bit so the light hits it a little more? Yeah, that's right. So is it like blue or is it black?
It's dark blue. It's like
Okay, that's rad, dude.
it's like
That
the old
looks like
school
the
Batman. Yeah,
what? Are there any words in the magnets back there?
no, but I was thinking it would be a dope like album cover or something if I could like
Yeah, yeah.
Photoshop the words and the magnets.
That'd be super dope.
Yeah, so I've got a Batman shirt on, or it looks like maybe it came with a Batman
Like it looks like it has like a
logo.
belt silk screened onto it or something.
Yeah, something. It's pretty funny. So I found that, and then I brought my bag of toys, my bag of action figures.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so I can go through those. There's a lot of them, man. So so we could just go through those a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it. Man, I
I
never.
gotta
I'm
figure out
I'm bad at social media.
how to do this. Yeah, social media is tough, man. It's definitely not.
Like I don't know. I never know how to like post like an Instagram story. Like Oh, there we go. Okay.
So here's the a good one. This wasn't one of my favorites, but I kept it because it was a classic. We got a Pee Wee Herman.
Whoa, is it? Does he have a real jacket?
Yeah, cloth jacket.
Bro, we call that soft goods in the action figure game. That's tight.
Yeah. So he's cool. That's cool. Pee Wee Herman was my favorite when I was a little kid. I'll just start with the old ones because these are like classic ones that I got. I think from my brother's generation, from him or from my grandma. So the next one is Rambo.
What? Yeah, dude. I've seen those come up for sale recently. That's in good shape
Good
too.
Rambo. Yeah, it
That's
is
fire.
actually in good shape. It's not bad. So this one is not in good shape, but I kept it because my grandma had a bunch of toys for us grandkids, and I wanted to take this one home so bad, and I fought for it. But it's a old like 1970s Green Lantern figure with no arms.
Oh, nice. Dude, I don't think I've even seen that one before.
Yeah, it's got like a small.
That's cool.
He's got a small head. But yeah, that was a. Even with no arms, I wanted to take that one home.
You had to fight for uh your brother over it like recently
Well, no,
or
my
like
grandma
when
had
you're
like a cache of toys that she kept at my grand at her house for all of us grandkids. There's four of us, and that was one of them. And
Oh, gotcha.
I was
I'm sorry. I was confusing. I was like, wait, were you guys like discussing who got to take it home
oh no,
now or
no,
like
and I yeah. So when I was a little kid, I just wanted it really bad, and she wouldn't let me have. She's like, "Well, this is for everybody," and somehow I talked her into it. So I mean, this isn't really. This is one of the things I was telling you about. My dad actually made this. This was like the evil guy's throne when I was a kid.
Oh, that's tight. What's
So
that? Is that wood or
yeah, it's wood with like some cloth tacked on it. It's just like a
that's
chair,
dope.
little chair.
Oh, it's like actually like fabric on there?
Oh yeah, it's
It
nailed.
almost looks like it's like sculpted in. That's crazy.
It's like nailed like a little like a real little chair or something.
That's tight.
Yeah. There's a ton in here, man. I'm gonna have to figure out how to. All right, so then, so this was my favorite toy, which is funny now, cause his head is super small, but it's a Spider-Man figure,
Yeah.
and
Is he
he bends like his wrist bends, everything bends, his body bends, and I have this. This is like a sunglasses string that I used as his web.
that's
It's
awesome.
like wrapped around his wrist, so I'd like hang it from a tree. Be like
Back
Spider Man.
when sunglasses used to have those and it was considered like kind of
Yeah, it's from like the
dope.
'80s.
Yeah.
So that one was the
Yeah,
that one.
these are some gems. I haven't seen a lot of these before.
This is like a newer. This was like a newer Spider Man that I got later. That wasn't as cool as the older one. I don't know why. I wanted
Yeah,
an.
it almost looks like a.
Oh, go ahead. It's like shiny. It's kind of
Oh,
like a silver and dark purple.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. I can identify a lot of figures after like a certain point, based on who made them and all that. But with
Yeah.
these, I don't really know. I'm not sure who had the licenses for some of those back then.
So this is what does this say?
Was it a
1986.
Transformer?
Yeah, so my dad used to go digging at dumps and he would find like antiques and stuff and he found this in an old dump and it's a transformer, I think. I don't know if maybe it's a knockoff transformer.
It could be a GoBot, which was I'm not familiar with those, but I know that was sort of a Transformer competitor,
I
or
see.
like tried to be.
It only had one wing, so I never really liked it that much.
That's cool though. It almost looks like do you remember the Home Alone 2 Talk Boy?
Um.
It's like that thing that the Kevin in Home Alone, the comic
Oh
book, and like
yeah.
talked into and recorded stuff.
Yeah.
I remember like McDonald's or Burger King or somebody had one that like transformed,
Mm.
and it kind of looked like that a little bit in
Everybody
my head
wanted
at
one of
least.
those things. It was basically just a Walkman
Yeah,
with a little microphone on it. Is that what?
yeah, like it was basically a tape recorder that
Uh
you
huh.
just talk into, but the shape was kind of novel. It
Yeah, I
was
remember,
like
and it had a
bumpier.
hand, it had a little
Yeah,
handle on it, so you could like.
yeah. It almost was shaped like this, like you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So this is another thing. I don't. This is like a little vehicle that I had. It says Venom on
Oh,
it.
nice.
It says Venom on it,
Huh.
which is weird. I think it's a GI Joe thing.
Yeah, it looks like a little snowmobile or something, like a GI
It's
Joe
like a
like
flying jet. It's
snowmobile
like
or
a
jet ski or something.
yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, this is one of the coolest. I can't remember what toys company. I can't remember what show this is from, but so this was my number one favorite thing. So this is like a little robot dude, but he it opens up. So it's like a little robot suit, and there's a little figure that goes in there,
Oh,
and
I
you
remember
and you
those.
could pull the little figure out, and
Yeah.
it's so dope. And so the guy's really small, but I mean, it's like the coolest little toy, man, because it's all fully functional and it's got had little, you know, it's all bendable and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I wish I could remember what those were called. Oh,
yeah, I don't
excuse
know.
me.
It's from some
Can't
weird
stop yawning today.
alien cartoon.
Yeah. They did a lot of stuff back then that would be a toy thing first and some other kind of property second.
Oh
Like
yeah,
they would
yeah,
basically, you know,
yeah. So
I think
that
we talked about that with like He-Man, how it started as a toy line, and then they're like, "Oh, we got to make it a show."
yeah, yeah. He-Man specifically started as that way. So this is let's see, what does this say on it? Made in Britain, maybe. Corgi Juniors.
Corgi, yeah.
So this is it's not in very good shape, but it's a Batmobile. It's like an old school Batmobile,
Oh yeah, that's tight.
really old.
Yeah, Corgi made a lot of like James Bond cars, like the Aston Martins and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. This must have been a. So these are some other guys. So this is another cartoon. I can't remember the name of it, but I've got two figures from them. This was one of my favorites. His name was Maul. He used to have horns on his back, but they got ripped out.
Oh, that's is that I think that's Wildcats or Thunder, not Thundercats. I think it's Wildcats. That's like an Image comic. Basically like is it Maul? Is that how you spell his name?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm correct,
94
Wildcats was
Playmate toy.
Wildstorm. So Wildstorm, Jim Lee, who designed the X Men versions that were in the cartoon,
Yeah.
um, he started Image Comics along with like Todd McFarlane, who created Spawn, and Rob Liefeld, who created Deadpool,
Uh huh.
and Jim Lee created, yes, Wildcats. Um, so he eventually branched off and made Wildstorm, which was like his own imprint from Image, like
Mhm.
his own studio, and then eventually he sold it to DC. So within that group, there's Grifter. You remember the guy with the blonde hair, and he wore like a red bandana over his face, and
I
it just had like
well,
eye holes, and he had a
I've
trench
got
coat
this
on.
guy too.
That is, I think, what's his name? Oh God,
He's
yeah,
kind of like a Wolverine. He's got claws for hands.
yeah. Wolverine meets Sabretooth, kind of. I should know this.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. He's part of Wildcats. His name isn't Cyber, but it's like something.
Yeah. So he
So
so
there's
he
Spartan Grifter Warblade. That's his name.
he's not very
Yeah,
actionable. Like his joints don't bend. I just like the way he looked because he looked dope. But he's kind of stuck in that
yeah.
position of like taking a shit.
A lot of those, like that's how Ninja Turtles were too. Remember, like they didn't have articulation at the elbows or knees or anything. It was just their hips and shoulders.
Oh yeah. So Maul, his legs bend, his knees, and so he's pretty cool. His arms don't, but his arm, he looks like he just like smash stuff. He's like a Hulk.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. He's kind of the Hulk. The other guy is kind of your Wolverine, Sabretooth, Cyber kind of amalgam.
Yeah, yeah. They're like kind of
They would all kind of take like an
from
existing character and like do a version of it.
yeah. So this guy, what he's from another cartoon. It's all Playmate. I guess Playmate made good toys in '94. That's when I got all these.
Yeah.
So this guy, he was a cool figure because he's every all the joints moved. He looks
Yeah,
like
that's dope.
he looks like Skeletor from He-Man, but he's not. He's from a different cartoon. But he's got a
He's
cape.
got hair though, huh? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't recognize that one.
yeah. It's from some skeleton cartoon. I can't remember what the name of that was.
Is that one you used to watch, or you just like knew about it?
No, I like I said in the last stream, I used to just look for toys that looked cool that had joints that moved because they were pretty rare to
Yeah.
find. Oh, so then I've got this guy. He's got multiple heads. So this guy, let's see what year is this? 95 Marvel toys. So this is he's I can't remember his name. He's a Spider-Man character,
Uh,
and he morphs so you can take his head off.
it looks like maybe it was based on that cartoon, huh? Remember that Spider-Man cartoon in the '90s?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it was. So then you can take his head off and he morphs into, Venom or whoever.
Oh, nice. Oh, does it say? Does it have a thing on the bottom of the foot on that one says who made it?
It just says Marvel. Marvel
Oh, okay.
Toy Biz Inc.
Oh, Toy Biz. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, Toy Biz, yeah, okay.
yeah.
So yeah, so I don't know. That guy wasn't one of my favorites. Oh, this is a crazy old thing that I have. What the hell is this from? 19. God, I can't even read that. It's so small. Let me see. Let me look at my. Let me see if I can get my. Phones have magnifying glasses on them. Did you know that?
Yeah. I use that shit all the time. You just put on camera mode and zoom in. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
It's like the millennial reading glasses.
1982 TSR TSR Hobbies Incorporated. 1982. So I don't know what this is. This is like the original Ninja Turtle.
Looks like looks like a fucked up Kermit. Oh, it is a turtle.
It is, yeah. But he's using his turtle shell as a shield.
Like the front part of it or the back? Because he's got something on his back too, right?
Oh, his back is just a holster as a sheath for his sword.
Oh, okay. From the other side, it looks like he had a shell on his back.
Yeah, and he's got a little sword. I don't
That's
know.
wild.
I don't know what he. I don't know.
He's either a turtle or he's a frog who killed the
Yeah,
turtle and took its shell.
yeah, yeah. He's a badass frog.
Yeah, it's like barbarian Kermit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. He's like, I kill turtles for fun.
Micron, right? He fucking.
So then, let's see. So these are the ones you probably won't know. Oh, well, I got these guys. So these guys were super dope. Um, Lego came out with little figures that had actionable joints, and they were like
Oh, I don't remember
the
those.
size of GI Joes.
Yeah.
They had little helmets. You could take the helmets off.
Whoa, I've never seen those before.
Yeah, so those were like the dopest. Like to me, they were dope because they were actionable or whatever. I don't even know if that's a
I'm gonna
word.
look
I just
that
keep
up and
using that
see.
word.
Yeah, what they call those.
Let's see what it says. There's no date on them.
Well, luckily,
Well,
they're that size they are is like I should just all I have to do is Google like Legos, 3 3/4 inch figures, and it'll probably
yeah, I think they came
give me
with
something.
like some cars or something, some bigger Lego cars. But I didn't have the cars. I just liked the little figures. I just thought the figures were dope. They were kind of like the Three Stooge toys that like.
Are those like motorcycle helmets or like? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I
yeah,
couldn't tell if
yeah.
they're
They're
like
like
football.
no, they're like racing.
Huh. Apparently, they put out some Star Wars figures in that scale at some point.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't see it on here, but I'm sure more in depth.
Have to look.
All wants to do is give me Star Wars.
So this is the infamous female GI Joe that I was telling you about that I lost in the fireplace.
Oh yeah,
She got red
and
hair.
that's the one you remembered as being so cool.
Yeah,
And
badass
then
ninja. I thought it was a badass ninja and like all black, and it's just
I wonder if that's Scarlet.
cool ass lady with the pink crop top on and a
Yeah.
red head mohawk. My mom used to paint the feet with fingernail polish to differentiate between my toys and my brother's,
Oh yeah.
or my toys and
Would you guys have doubles of a lot of them?
my toys and the neighbors. No, just like my mom was probably thinking kids were gonna steal my toys or something.
Oh yeah. Did you ever trade toys with other kids?
Um, I imagine so. I can't. I mean, I don't know. I think I probably did. I
I
can't
never
remember.
did that. My nephew does it a lot. I'm like, yeah, that's wild to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't
I was always like,
remember.
no, I wanted this.
I can't remember it being like a thing that I did often. It was more so like let's see the other kid's toy, the neighbor's toy, and then be like, oh, that one's so cool. I want one that's just like that or better, and then save
Yeah.
save up the money or do whatever to get something as cool as that. So then the rest are just all GI Joes that you don't really know a lot about, but so this is like the white ninja guy.
Oh yeah. He's a little more.
He's straight up
He's a little
yellow.
yellow.
Yeah, he's straight
Yeah.
yellow.
But
He's
yeah,
a,
that's Storm Shadow, right? Is the
maybe.
white one? Yeah, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes is the guy in all black.
The problem
Um,
the problem with this dude is his crotch broke. So with the GI Joes, the crotch breaks and it just totally fucks up the legs.
uh, is there like a piece that's supposed to go in between them, or does it just become like
Yeah.
disconnected?
Yeah, it's just like a little I don't know if you can see, it's just like a little crotch thing in the crotch that
Oh yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
separates the
Wow, that's
legs.
real thin.
Yeah. So
Okay,
this
so that one you loved was called Zarana.
Oh, I
Here's
like
a
that name. Oh,
here's
Zarana.
a picture.
What's up, girl? Yeah.
Oh, hang on, sorry, I gotta
Uh,
calibrate.
Yep. Oh,
Gotta
she
get
had
the
a
right
gun.
way.
She
Yeah,
came with a
here we go.
gun. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I loved her. I still love her. I love her even more now because of the story.
Well, it looks like there were a couple of versions of her.
She's actually in pretty
I
good
think you
shape.
probably had the original. Yeah, you see? Can you see the differences in their faces on this?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a big difference.
Yeah. Oh wait, I always do this the wrong.
Yeah, it looks like they're
There
sisters.
we
They
go.
don't even look like the same people.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got the smaller faced one.
that must have been the original one because the other one looks like it would have been like when action figure technology advanced slightly,
Mm-hmm.
but not quite that much.
You know, the thing about this one is it. Oh, wait, it says on the butt, made in something. The back of the legs are melted a little bit from being in the fireplace.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing that it stayed that intact
Well, it fell in like some
or
sort of
where it
vent
was.
thing. I don't know where. We didn't use the
Yeah.
fireplace that often, so
And you said he found it when he like demolished the fireplace?
yeah, yeah. He had to take the whole fireplace out and found it when I was in
That's
my
wild.
20s. Yeah. So this is the other one. This is the main GI Joe guy. I don't know his name. He's an old one.
Yeah.
So that dude. And then let's see. This
I mean, these
guy.
are in pretty good shape, dude.
Yeah, man. Well, when I was, of the age, I put them away.
Yeah.
They could still be played with by a kid. So this dude's cool. I got this one because it's a forearm GI Joe. I don't even know who he
Oh.
was. This is before Jar
Is he
Jar
like an
Binks.
alien?
Yeah, he's like an alien dude.
Definitely some Jar Jar Binks vibes, huh?
Yeah, but this was way before that.
Yeah.
But he's kind of hunchback, so he's kind of weird. He can't, his
Jai
legs.
Joe Binks.
He's got big ass feet, so he's kind of a weird
Yeah.
guy. So there's that dude. And then this guy was one of my favorites. This was always the leader. Guy with the snake for the head hat,
Oh
snake
dang.
snake head
Yeah,
hat.
I remember that guy. I don't know his name, but
The coolest thing about GI Joes is you could take a screwdriver and pull them apart, and then you could like pull the arms out, and you could take it all apart, and you could like mix and match the pieces. My brother used to demolish them and put them back together, different legs and arms and heads.
yeah. See, I never played with them, so I didn't know you could do that. That's cool.
Yeah, they're pretty fun, man. There's
Are
like
they?
a
Do they have like strings in them? Do you remember?
they have a little rubber band, so
Okay,
on the crotch here there's a metal hook, and the rubber band hooks to that, and then I think it hooks to the head or something like that. So it kind of
it's
makes
all
the
kind of like
the
held together.
yeah, so it makes the body kind of flexible, and the arms and legs and the
Yeah.
head are all just kind of in there. This is another dude that I liked a lot. He had like a helmet, but he had a face shield, but it fell off.
I mean, dude, just watching you manipulate it with one hand, like they look super articulated and flexible.
Oh yeah, they're like my favorite for that. I think that sort of made the rest of my interest in toys kind of controlled it, because I'm like, oh man, you could jump them off. They look like a dude, and
Yeah,
walk
yeah,
around and do shit. And so, you get another toy that doesn't bend. It's like, this is not fun.
yeah,
So then here's
yeah.
an
The cool thing about where figures are now is like it used to be that you either had cool articulation like that and no sculpt to speak of, or an amazing sculpt, but it was basically a little plastic statue.
uh
And
huh
now we're at a point where they're
doing
like the
both.
two have met. Yeah, and you can get
Nice.
something that looks really, really good and can move around.
So this dude's cool. That's exciting. Um, I think that's exciting. I think if I just got into collecting toys again as an adult, I'd probably waste a lot of money on a lot of.
Hey, man, you're talking to a pro at it. But like,
So
look at this. Like this guy I keep at my desk because I can move him around and do fun shit with him.
yeah, let me see.
Wait, move him this way.
Just a minute. I'm gonna do the full screen. There you go. Oh
Oh yeah,
yeah, see
pull him back
that's
a little bit.
really cool. I remember seeing that guy in
Yeah,
person.
like
Uh
yeah,
huh.
it looks super realistic. I mean, obviously you can see the cuts in the sculpt where you know you can move around and stuff, but
Sure.
you can put them in the coolest poses and like
Yeah.
all of my I got a new display case since you were here last, and I put all of my like favorite sort of my Mezco figures, which are like they're 6-inch figures that have like actual clothing, and they
Yeah.
look like realistic um, especially for that scale. And I have them all posed in like fairly realistic, naturalistic kind of poses, and
Yeah,
they look like little mini humans. It's so tight.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and if you can get like I either put wires in their capes or you can get wired capes like aftermarket to add to them.
Yeah.
So I have Batman standing on this gargoyle bookend that I got, and I have the cape flowing,
Oh
like in the
yeah.
wind. It looks so cool. Like it's amazing.
it's like a, it's like the next best thing to real Batman just hanging out
Yeah,
on your.
that's the thing. Can't remember if we talked about this, but I've tried to kind of figure out what it is about these things that I like so much, and it's twofold. I've always been fascinated by a miniature version of a real thing. Especially if you can approximate that like a realistic look to it
Yeah.
in such a small scale. Like that's astounding to me. I never get tired of that. Especially when you see dioramas that are in a 1/12th scale, which is
Mm.
basically like for 6-inch little people, but
Yeah.
it looks like rust on a dumpster or a fire hydrant or whatever. Like that's amazing to me. But the other half of it is just having a if you like a movie or a comic book character, they exist in that format, but to have a sort of little physical totem of them that's
Mhm.
just sort of a you know reminder of this thing that you like in a way that is you can interact with and you know like kind of brings you joy to manipulate and have fun, make it put in different poses and stuff. I think
Yeah.
that's the big part of it for me.
When it's now that I'm thinking about it, and after watching that, how things are the toys, whatever that show on Netflix,
The toys that made
the
us,
toys
yeah.
that made us. It's really a work of art in a way. I mean, it's a product that they're trying to
Yeah,
sell, but it's a piece of art, really. I mean, it makes me think
yeah.
of different things that my dad would paint paintings, and he would set up different scenarios. And most recently, he had a room where he had an old mannequin from, like, he loved vintage stuff. It was like a 1950s mannequin, and he would set it
Oh,
up
that's cool.
in poses and stuff, and then he made replicas. He'd go through books of different clothing of the eras and stuff, and he'd make miniature replicas of the clothing. He would, paint paintings from that kind of stuff. So,
Hmm.
it's all, I think it's all relative in art.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the biggest part of it for me, and why I really got into them is because I've always been into having cool action figures and realistic things like that, but uh, making my own versions or you know essentially I got into customizing them because there were figures that didn't exist that I wanted, so I just made them. And then
Mm-hmm.
now a lot of them are coming out. Like one of the first ones I made was a John Wick figure because that didn't exist, so I got a Neo figure from the Matrix that had a really realistic head sculpt, and then I found another one with a suited body that I just had to paint the right color and put a
Mm.
gun in his hand, and I made hair and a beard for him, and boom, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's the bulk of the collecting I do. Really, is either stuff to turn into a thing or at least something that I can put my own stamp on, so that it's not just me getting a thing and putting it on a shelf and being like, well, I have a thing now. I
Yeah.
acquired it and now it's here. I like to have some kind of interaction with it that is creative in that way. To
Yeah. Well, and that
you know,
Bruce,
it
like
makes me proud to look at it. Like, yeah, I made that shit.
that Bruce Lee toy in general is just cool to have. Like, what's cooler
Yeah,
than that? You have like a Bruce Lee that you
yeah,
can
right.
manipulate, and that's it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's there's a big movement online, or not movement, but a hobby, group of people that they call it action figure. Well, there's a couple, but there's action figure photography, and then there's articulated comic book art where they'll actually like pose them and try to recreate a panel or make their own sort of comic book image out of 3D stuff, and then
Mm.
so they'll set up like a character punching another character, and then they'll like make little word balloons that be like, it's clobber time, whatever, or like pow, and then they'll
Mm-hmm.
set it up and take a picture of it.
I've seen that.
But action figure photography, yeah, it's pretty popular on Instagram and stuff. And
I've seen
there are
actually
guys who,
a guy I went to high school with would do it with just like a random, like a GI Joe or something, and set him up like he's just chilling somewhere,
yeah,
and take it. And
yeah,
he's
or
like
people will
funny
do
looking.
like, they'll have they'll set off fireworks and then take the picture as like a sparkler's going off in the
Oh
background, and
yeah,
it looks like they're engaged in a firefight and there's smoke and
I
things like
think I
that.
told you
So
that, but I saw somebody with like a Terminator toy, and they tied it to a rope, and then had a light behind it and a fog machine, and they
yeah, when he's doing the
yeah, and it's like dun
thumbs
dun
up thing,
dun. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I love it, man. It's
yeah,
super fun, and that's another way to really, a lot of people really enjoy these. I don't have a good camera. That's something I need to do so that I can
yeah,
take cool pictures of the ones I make rather than just from my phone and have it be kind of shitty quality.
for sure. I
But
wanna. My goal is eventually to get a better camera, and then use this camera to take over to like places to give to people. Like say if you and I are gonna do it, and you don't have a camera, I could give you this camera that I'm using now. You know.
I still need to get a better one now that we're doing this regularly, and
Yeah.
um, I feel like, what is the other computer that I use for this? Is that a better picture than this one?
I think they're about the same. I think the angle on the other one's better, like the way that it's where it's set up.
Okay,
But
yeah,
I think they're about the same. I mean, they are any
yeah,
like
because that is more even with me. This one is up a little higher.
yeah. I mean, any embedded camera is about the same quality. You know. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so the rest of I got a couple more. Just two more. So this guy, so there's this dude. He's got a he's got a big helmet for some reason, and he's got a normal head. The helmet is like huge. And then this is the last guy.
My connection is getting bad all of a sudden.
Oh,
It's it's still working, but I'm like, my video is lagged behind a
I
bit
see.
now, so it'll take me a sec to see your guy. Oh, there he is. Yeah, look at that big old noggin.
So all those GI Joes are from like the late '80s, early '90s, and then they stopped making those size of GI Joes, and the ones that they started coming
Yeah.
out with later, like in the mid '90s or whenever, or I don't know, my time frame's a little off, but the ones that they started coming out with later to try to revamp GI Joes again were the construction of them was different. They weren't put together with rubber bands like that, and they were just really bad. So anyway, this guy, I ended up getting this dude later on because he's kind of like he was like another. He's a little bit bigger. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you comparison. He's a little bit bigger than the other GI Joes, but he's I can hold him like that. But he's like his construction is similar, but he doesn't have a rubber band. He's just got like it's kind of like these plastic little things in his crotch that hold his legs on. But he looks like I don't know, he looks like a Cuban army dude. But
So the big guy, that's the newer one, right? With
yeah,
the
so
big
this was like
shoulders and
the
the
newest. I think this was probably the last like version of GI Joes from when I was a kid that was like you could still, manipulate him but the thing is his body didn't bend. He just swiveled, like
yeah.
his body just like swiveled. So that was the last time I bought GI Joes as a kid cuz they just didn't make them like they used to, man.
Yeah, that little Danny Trejo one ruined it for you.
Danny Trejo, yeah. Yep, so that's
Yeah, it's wild, man. There's I saw an Instagram account, some collector guy, and he had what I assume is every one of at least the original GI Joes, like the ones you were just showing me. Um,
wow.
and it was like he had these shelves that were gridded off, in a way that was, you know, those figures are like 3 3/4 of an inch tall. So
Yeah.
the little shelves themselves were probably like 3 inches by 4 inches or something, or four, 3 by 5, like,
Yeah.
and each little cubby housed one GI Joe, and it was an entire wall that was just like a grid of them. It was wild. I've never seen a collection like that before.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, how do you make that shelf? I mean, that must have been so labor intensive and for
So
sure a custom thing,
so
you
they would
know?
just had little teeny, a bunch of little teeny holes, basically, and they just
Yeah, it was like it was, but it. I'm trying to think of an example. Like those very ubiquitous IKEA shelves that are like I have
like for
several in my
shoes.
office. Kinda like they'll just be like a 2 by 4,
Oh, like the ones people use
square
for
shelves.
records.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Picture that, but those the shelves, the square, the hollow part of the shelf is like just big enough to house a GI Joe, and it was like 1,000 of them,
Wow.
or however many GI Joes there were. Like it was wild.
That's amazing.
Yeah, some of these dudes have money, man. It's nuts.
Well, I think about when I was a kid, I had a friend. My mom had a friend that her and her husband were into collecting, and into collecting Hot Wheels.
Mm,
There was a time in like the early '90s or the late '80s when people thought that, I don't know. I was a little kid, so maybe it was just those people that thought that, but they thought that if they collected Hot Wheels, they would be worth millions of dollars
yeah, yeah.
one
That's
day.
every few years or something like that, right? Beanie Babies, remember those?
Yep. Yep.
That actually happened in comics. Those action figures you were showing me that I said were from the guy Jim Lee, who he's like the head of DC Comics now, but he started Image along with like Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and Image, of course, is best known for The Walking Dead at this point. Um, they're the sort of like the independent comics company. Back then, those comics were people were buying 25 issues of number one, right? Because people started to realize that if you had a copy of Superman number one or Action Comics number one or Detective Comics number one, etc., they were worth a lot of money because there weren't that many that survived because people they were disposable back then,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
so there was this big speculator boom, which was exactly what you're talking about, those Hot Wheels and
Mm-hmm.
comics in it, and it almost, I mean, it basically bankrupted the industry. Like it almost crashed comics in general because people were riding high. I mean, dudes were driving Lamborghinis and shit based on drawing comics because they were making so much money off of
Wow.
all the sales that they were doing. And then people realized, oh, these aren't worth shit if we all have 25 of them. And
Yeah.
then the bottom fell out. Yeah, it just got real bleak for a bit.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting. I
yeah.
mean,
That's why before Marvel got all the movie right, or back before we had the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there was like the Fantastic Four movies that were like okay, and that Hulk movie that I think is good that not a lot of people liked, and
mm-hmm.
like uh and it was because to keep the company afloat, Stan Lee like sold the media rights
Oh yeah, I
to
think I
those
heard about that.
characters. Yeah, and then
Mm-hmm.
so that's what's interesting is that the ones that Marvel still had the rights to was stuff like Captain America and Thor and Black Panther, right?
Hmm.
So they were just working with what they still had the rights to, and it ended up being huge.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. So you're talking
Yeah.
about the Edward Norton Hulk movie?
No, that was actually in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that one is basically like still supposed to be Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner, and
I
stuff,
see.
just recasted.
I
But
like
the
I
the one
liked
with
that.
Eric Bana,
I think I liked both of them. I didn't like the Eric Bana one as much. That's the one where he fought, where he had something with his dad, and then he like had to.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't like that one as much.
yeah. That one it's pretty polarizing. From an artistic standpoint, it's pretty incredible. Like especially the way I remember it would do a lot of like comic book panel type of stuff on the screen in a cool way.
Uh huh.
Um,
I mean, I haven't
It had a
s-
lot of good elements to it, but yeah, they hadn't quite cracked the code on how to make these things yet at
I
that
haven't
point. You know.
seen I haven't seen those movies in so long. I can't remember, but I do remember liking the Edward Norton one, and being kind of blown away later that people didn't like it.
I think it's really good until the last, like toward the end of it, when they bring in Tim Roth, who's a fantastic actor, but he's not really believable as this sort of mercenary type of guy.
Mm.
Because especially because they like airbrushed muscle on him. I remember I was like, come on, like this fake abs, like you know what I mean?
That's funny to see.
Uh,
I like seeing pictures of what's his name playing the gladiator, and he has no muscle
oh yeah,
tone
yeah.
whatsoever.
You talking about like when Mark Ruffalo's like doing the motion capture stuff
No, no, no.
for Hulk in that movie?
The
Or
guy that movie Gladiator, Russell Crowe.
oh,
Back then he was like a badass. It was like, oh, this is a badass movie. This guy's badass gladiator. And seeing pictures and seeing the movie now are pictures of him. He had no muscle tone, really. He was, he wasn't,
yeah, he was big. He was big, but he wasn't like shredded, right? He didn't have like
he wasn't even really
that
big. He was pretty
definition.
normal. Like he was pretty
Yeah.
normally,
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like people didn't look like The Rock back then. Like
yeah,
they hadn't discovered creatine and whey protein powder and shit like that, and they weren't like working out like fucking animals. Like it
yeah,
was just like you were just strong because you had to fight and hunt and shit like that.
yeah.
So it was probably more realistic, but yeah, by today's standards, it's kind of like, oh, that's it. Like,
Well, like compare that
because
to like
especially
the 300 movie or whatever.
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, especially like this is Sparta. And
Yeah,
dudes all fucking, you can see every muscle on their bodies and shit.
yeah, yeah.
But what's wild? I mean, have you ever seen how like before Hugh Jackman would do a shirtless, veiny Wolverine scene, he would like not drink water for like 3 days straight
Oh yeah. Oh, I
because
saw a thing.
that's how you get all veiny like that.
Yeah, I saw a thing about the guy from The Witcher when he did his hot tub scene.
Yeah.
He did this whole thing like you're saying. He like I don't whatever he did, starved himself for like a day and didn't drink water and did all this shit and was like miserable just for that one, just to look, and
And he's like in a tub anyway,
he
and it's
looks
like, yeah,
cool or
even if
whatever,
he
but
wasn't,
like yeah,
it's
yeah,
not noticeable. Like he didn't need to suffer like that. Like we wouldn't have known.
yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, camera on camera. I mean, like I said, my hair looks cool on camera, but in real life, it looks kind of shitty. So, who knows? who who knows what cameras do? Maybe that made a big
Yeah.
difference. Maybe he looked like a fat oaf, like before he did that, and they were like, "No, man,
Like cut.
cut.
Hey,
You look
listen,
chubby."
Henry. Yeah. Well, I think the idea is that like you lose any like water weight, right? And you're just pure muscle and like stretched out skin over
I
veins and
get.
shit.
I
And
guess. I mean, I'm kind of the wrong
but
person
it's
to.
yeah, but it's like, well, I mean, I that's why they do it, right? But it's like it doesn't. I don't feel like the result is really worth the effort because I don't think we sit there and go like if he didn't do that, if he was just because the dude is yoked. I mean, he works out fucking probably like 5 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't eat carbs. I mean, he's like the guy is going nuts doing
Mm-hmm.
this, and I think the difference would be imperceptible if he didn't starve himself and was still shirtless in that tub. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Sure. Well, maybe part of it too is like, uh, I'm thinking that bodybuilders, it's probably a normal thing that bodybuilders do all the time when they're getting ready
Mm-hmm.
for a thing, and it may not make a huge difference, but maybe it's partially like how they look to themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could
Also,
be a psychological thing too.
confidence.
Like it's part
Yeah,
of a routine or something. And
yeah, like it's not really that big of a deal to you and I, but to them, it's like I I look so good right now.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's like yeah. At what cost, right?
Sure, sure.
And it's a weird thing because it's just kind of like a dog eating its own tail, or chasing its own tail, right? Or snake eating its own tail. It's this like
Mm-hmm.
they're only doing it for themselves and because that's what you do in this industry or whatever. But the rest of us are lay persons and we don't know that. So who's
Sure.
that serving? Just this weird tradition, you know? It's like just stop, eat a pizza,
Yeah.
enjoy your life, you
Well, it
know?
makes me think of D'Angelo, the singer. He had that
mm,
video that he did, How Does It Feel? With the
mm,
How Does It Feel? Ooh, and he's
yeah.
all naked and stuff. Well, apparently, where did I hear about that from? I want to say maybe Questlove was talking about it. He was so mentally distraught over the expectation to look like that video that he would like hype
Oh,
himself
like
up
all
in the
the
mirror.
time.
Yeah, before shows. He
Wow.
would hype himself up in the mirror. He would be doing like 50 sit-ups before shows. He'd be doing like all this stuff trying to just look, cuz he would have to go out in front of the crowd and like take his shirt off and
Yeah, because
so
it was expected of him at that point, right?
yeah, I mean that was his whole thing. That's like who he was. When he came out and he was fat or whatever years later, he didn't look he wasn't fat, but he didn't look like that. He was maybe overweight or whatever. Um I was like, "What? That's the guy. That's the sexy guy from the video. What is he doing now?" No, let's all
Yeah.
forget that he's an amazing singer and the music that he made was groundbreaking and I mean he's like up there with Prince in my opinion, but
Yeah, you know that that's happened a couple times now with Jason Momoa too. Like he'll be trending on Twitter and it'll be like dad bod or something and it'll be a picture of him in incredible shape, but like he's just not like flexing his stomach muscles or he hasn't like
sure,
starved himself for a day for a shirtless scene or whatever, right? So he's still like super yoked, massive, like, and his stomach you can see like muscle definition, but it's just not washboard. And so
mhm,
people are like, "Oh, he's getting fat," and it's like, "Are you kidding me? Like,
I know
chill out," you
that
know?
that online stuff like that just it makes me kind of sick because the
Yeah,
people that make money off of that stuff and promote that stuff they don't think about the mental health aspect of it that it has on millions of people and on that person and especially with like Leonardo DiCaprio. I think about there's always I always have seen stuff of him where it's just like, oh, he's got a dad bod, Leonardo DiCaprio. He just has a normal dude's body. Like he's just a
yeah,
normal dude. He happens to be an actor
yeah,
that makes a bunch of money and shit, but he's just a dude. He's walking around. He's got a normal body. And they're making fun of it, this dad bod thing. It's like, no, I have a normal grown human man's body
right.
that
Yeah,
I
you
don't
know, we
I don't
don't.
lift weights all the time. I just have a this is what a
Yeah,
normal dude's body looks like.
yeah, because we don't. We you know, and of course, obviously, this goes tenfold for women and the expectations on
Oh,
women and
sure.
their,
Oh, sure.
but there we have this weird perception of what that the baseline is that you're Jason Momoa or
Yeah.
Zach Efron or somebody who you know what I mean. That's not the baseline. The baseline is Leonardo DiCaprio. You know,
Yeah.
like to look like those people again. You gotta no carbs, weird diets,
Well, it's been
tons of protein. I mean, dude, have you ever tried to eat like the amount of protein that you would need to like build muscle? It is so hard to do.
yeah. Well,
Like
I don't like there's a few things I'm thinking about. One is I don't know if you ever seen The Rock's Instagram stuff, but he does these crazy videos of like his days, cheat days or whatever days. And he eats like massive amounts of crazy food, like massive
yeah,
like
The Rock probably eats 5 to 6 thousand calories a day.
piles of cookies and piles of shit. And I have like acid reflux, so I have to eat in specific ways. If I ate like that, I
Mm-hmm.
would die. I couldn't
Yeah, yeah.
so it's just an interesting. But then I also think about I've seen articles with Zach Efron specifically with uh, Robert Pattinson with the Batman thing and the coronavirus. I don't know if you heard about that, but he was saying so both of them had talked about how they don't work out they're not working out like they did, and the way that they, specifically Zac Efron was like, the way that I looked in Baywatch or whatever movies is not a reasonable thing. I wasn't healthy. It's not a good thing to do. Which I really respect them coming out and saying that. And Robert Pattinson was saying he's
Yeah.
not working out at all during the coronavirus because he doesn't want to set an expectation for normal guys, thinking that you need to be look a certain way during like a
Yeah.
crisis.
That I like that guy. He's from everything I've just caught. Because obviously I hear about him a lot more nowadays because he's playing Batman.
Yeah.
Um, he seems like a very thoughtful guy and like a very down to earth type of dude. And I know that expectations get skewed because of celebrity status and whatever, but I mean, just in general, I think anybody who's in the spotlight like that who says those kind of things and is a you know level-headed person about you know what's healthy and what's expected and stuff, I think is cool
Yeah, it's
because
interesting.
they have a big platform.
For
Yeah,
sure. Well, just people just kind of being speaking from a place that seems like they're just being honest in general,
yeah,
is a respectable thing, I think.
yeah,
Whether that's
yeah.
who they are.
I was there was a period of time. I think we still worked together. It would have been, yeah. It was because it was after I broke up with my long term ex,
Yeah.
and I was kind of going through like a big personal change and stuff, and I was trying to get into better habits and just be, it was like a new beginning sort of thing, and I was working
Yeah.
out a lot, and I've always been like pretty slender. Like I have a pretty fast metabolism just naturally. It's like the one thing I was gifted with genetically.
Yeah.
And like I just don't put on weight no matter what I do. And that's even if I try. You know what I mean? Now I'm 35. Who knows? I feel like my time is coming, right? Like I've had friends who say, "Yeah, man, once you hit 40." But I heard that about 30. I've heard that about 35. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But during that time, I was really trying to like load up on protein, and I had heard or read that a good rule of thumb for when you're trying to put on weight, and muscle is like if you eat 1 gram of protein for every pound that you weigh while you're exercising, right? Like during
Hmm.
that time.
Mhm.
And man, that is hard to do. I mean, you're talking over 160 grams of protein a day.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, to put it in perspective, I think of like a peanut butter sandwich with like a 2 tablespoon serving of protein and like nutty bread or whatever, bread with seeds and nuts and shit. That probably I think has about 18 grams of protein a day, or per serving, whatever.
Wow.
18 to 20, something like that, which is
Yeah.
about what a chicken breast has. So if you're a vegetarian like myself, then you can still get a decent amount.
Yeah.
Um, and but I mean, you'd have to eat 8 of those sandwiches a day to hit that. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
like that's on the higher end of what the amount of protein you'd get in like a single meal, right? Like I think on average you probably get you know 10 to 15 grams depending on what you eat.
Yeah.
So not only are you loading up on calories, but you also have to keep an eye on that stuff. And then so that's where the powders and the shakes and stuff come in. I never really got into that because
Yeah.
I have a hard time just eating more than I need to. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel good, and I'm just generally not in that practice. So
Mhm.
yeah, I can't imagine what those guys go through, man. Like they're forcing themselves to, and after a certain point, I'm sure you get hungry for it because you're working out like crazy. I mean,
Well, and I think that, and I think a person's sort of stomach size or whatever changes. Their consumption. At
yeah,
least in my experience, I was really skinny, and I ate a lot less, just infrequently, just in a different way when I was younger, and
mm,
I went through a period where I got really serious about my health in that way. I got kind of freaked out and was made myself basically eat 3 meals a day. What I ended up
mm,
doing is I tried to never have the feeling of being hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I ate 3 meals a day, and then I would have snacks that I would eat in between. It was all generally healthy stuff, nuts, those kinds of snacks, and
Mm-hmm.
and so I would just never feel the feeling of being hungry. Basically, as soon as I started kind of feeling that way, I would have something to eat. And but then what happened was my back got more injured than what it was, and I couldn't walk for like a year, and I put on a ton of weight that way.
Did what happened to your? I mean, obviously, I know what the initial injury was, but did you like pull something or like
So
was it
so what happened? When I was 19, I got in the car accident and I chipped
right?
my spine. And I was 19 when we got in the accident. I didn't. My hospital bills were super high, so I didn't really get any money from the accident. And I was injured for more than a year. But the injury that I had, they said at the time that it's a serious injury. My spine is chipped. One of the vertebrae is broken off, a piece of the
Mm-hmm.
vertebrae. But they said it's a minor injury. There isn't really any issues from it. Just when you're carrying stuff, if you turn or whatever, you might hurt yourself. Might hurt. It was kind of what they told me.
Mm-hmm.
And being 19, being poor, not having a lot of money, once I could walk and stuff, I basically rehabilitated myself. Not basically, I did. I just did a ton of sit ups, did a ton of push ups, jogging, get back into shape, whatever. I didn't never went to a chiropractor. I never went to physical therapist. I never went back to the doctor. And
Mm-hmm.
what ended up happening over the course of 10 years to when I was to being 28 was I slowly, well, now when I think about it, after that, um after I healed from the accident and I kind of rehabilitated myself back to walking and being able to do stuff, I had kind of limitations. I had pains, and I can remember, like, in my early 20s, like when we met, I put out an album, and I had got the copies. I had a album release show that I was doing, and I was at the Burbati's Pan. I was opening up for this group called Quiva, and I was gonna sell my albums. And I woke up that morning, and part of the accident was I had pneumonia, and so my lungs would had fluid in them, and I had to go through all this stuff
Mm-hmm.
to get the fluid out anyway. And so for the next
Did they have to drain it? Like put a drain in your?
no, so I basically just had to, like, do this thing where you breathe in really deep and then cough, and just do that over and over and over and over and over until your lungs kind of get back.
Mm-hmm.
But once that was kind of healed, I still would, like, if I slept a certain way, I would, like, wake up and I would have kind of have water on my lungs. I could feel it. My lungs would kind of bubble, and I'd have to cough it out, and I couldn't really breathe, and I'd have sharp pains in my lungs. And so I was smoking cigarettes in my early 20s. I started doing that again. And so anyhow, I woke up that morning for the release show to do this big show, and my lungs were all bubbly and painful. And so I had a lot of that in my 20s, and then I would sleep. I slept on that futon. And what would happen, I can remember the first time I really did something. I was carrying some silverware up these stairs at my old job, and I turned. Someone said something, and I turned and tweaked my back. And it wasn't a little tweak. I mean, it was like I was out for the next 2 3 days. I had to just sleep, lay down, and I couldn't walk. I couldn't do shit. I couldn't get in the car. And so years of that, just progressively getting worse, and by the time I was like 26, 27, I was having trouble even tying my shoes. I couldn't do a lot of things, and I would have, probably once every couple weeks I would have to, like, stay home for a couple days and just, like, lay down because my back was so bad. And um and yeah, and I can specifically remember having trouble tying my shoes at one point and thinking, like, okay, this is something serious, like,
Yeah.
I didn't really want to admit it to myself, but I just realized, like, okay, I'm having trouble tying my shoes. I'm 26, 27 years old. That's not good.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was, you know, I met my wife at the time. I was getting into doing better things for myself, taking care of myself. I was going to counseling and recovery and all these things. And I was hanging out with my wife, who was my friend at the time, and I was doing some things, and she was pointing out, like, there's something really wrong with your back. Like, you can't even lay on your stomach with me on the grass. You can't do these things. We went on a bike ride, and I couldn't walk for like a day and a half because just from riding the bike. Anyhow, it got to the point where I couldn't even walk. I can't remember the progression, but it just got to the point where I started having back spasms, and I was trying to work, and I was like, I couldn't even walk, and I was literally I just was laying in bed, and I couldn't, and I was just crying. I couldn't walk, and so what I had to do is I went to the doctor. They set me up with a physical therapist. My sponsor in recovery set me up with a chiropractor, and it was like, this guy really helped me when I had issues with my back. So I went to the chiropractor. I was working during this whole time too. So I was out selling credit card machines. I was out fucking walking, take me 20 minutes to get to the thing. I would go in the building and
Yeah.
like fake it, lean up against the wall. Oh, hey, how's it going? Blah blah blah. And then they'd turn around and I'd be like, oh, fuck, I gotta go. So
Yeah.
I was like, luckily I had this
Damn.
job where I could like kind of still function. I could fake the function and still make money, and I didn't have a manager that was
Yeah.
watching me. And so I was able to do my job, continue to do that. I'd wake up in the morning every, I don't know, 2 3 days. Wake up, go to the chiropractor, get adjusted. Went to the physical therapist. They taught me a routine. The first time I got adjusted, I could kind of walk better a little bit. My back was all kind of like crazy. Went to the physical therapist, did the routine once, and I could walk better. They were like, "Oh my god, that really improved you." And basically, what happened was I got all jacked up in the car accident, and I just like worked out like that and just strengthened my muscles, and so I was like all crooked and bent. And that's why I walked funny. People
Mm.
were like, "Oh, you walk funny," or this and that. It's like, "Oh, just my swag." I got swag. I'm a rapper or whatever. But really, my
Yeah.
back was all fucked up, and and so once I started getting adjusted, I started learning about what good posture is, about doing these stretches every. I still do physical therapy every single day, the stretches, and I have better
Yeah.
mobility than I had when I was in high school. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, and so my neighbor, I had this neighbor Nolan, and he would see me after I started getting better, and he'd be like, "Why are you walking like that? Why are you standing like that? You look like something's wrong. What's wrong with you?" Because like my posture is different. I just it's all different. so
Yeah.
so anyway, yeah, it just changed my whole life, man. And so
That's cool.
but one thing result of it is I can't work out like a normal person. I can't lift stuff. I'm a big guy, but I can't lift things anymore. I have to use machines to exercise. I couldn't run. I had to be able to learn how to not learn, I guess, but I had to. I wasn't able to run when my back was
Mm.
messed up for a really long time, and so I had to rehabilitate myself to run um, on a treadmill. I did use a stair climbing thing for a long time, and then once I kind of got back, I could started running. So that was a long-winded story, but it took me about a
No, it's good to know though. I didn't know all, because like obviously I know that your car accident was a big thing that shaped a lot of your life after that.
yeah. Well, it was a huge
But I
traumatic
wasn't.
thing, and
Yeah.
when I was when I was in my 20s, I kind of played on that. It was this big thing changing my life. It did, but I never looked at the physical aspect, and that didn't hit me until 10 years later.
Yeah. Well, we don't. I mean, dude, we don't know. Like, there's no one to tell us these things. You know what